Well, it is an issue of great concern to me for two reasons. I think first, as a human being, that I believe strongly in the sanctity of human life. I believe that human beings constitute human capital. Without that human capital, no society and no nation can be itself at its best. And the second reason is that I am an African. And an African who is very privileged in some sense. Privileged that I am now part, with modesty, of Africa's intellectual elite. I believe that from any vantage point where we operate professionally, if we are conscientious about the problems, facing our countries and the continent, and we are determined to make a change, that we can do so, irrespective of where we live. And so, as a scholar who studies genocide and who has written moderately about this phenomenon, and as someone who has also traveled to participate in major international meetings and conferences relating to this particular subject matter, that I have considered it necessary to do everything that I can to shed light on what is becoming Africa's moral conundrum, and then also to do something about it. How do I do something about it? Teach about it, draw awareness about it, and then also develop programs and philosophies and doctrines and other things that I can do in order to generate continental awareness about our collective responsibility to make sure that genocide becomes a thing of the past on the continent. To be very candid, I am now following what is happening in the Central African Republic. So I am not very aware of the genesis of the problem. I've been following some of the NGO reports, so I cannot speak forthrightly about what is happening there. But what I have read indicates that there was a military coup in the country, I think a couple of years ago. And the military coup was actually a product of some ongoing civil war that was raging in the Central African Republic. And when the coup took place, the leader of the coup was not able to rein in his rebel fighters. Okay? And it bubbled over into a kind of intercommunal violence between Christians and Muslims there. And so a political conflict that led to a military coup then descended into an inter-religious crisis. And it created the kinds of tensions and situations that are very typical of genocides. That is, one of the most important precursors of genocide is ethnic and intercommunal violence. So this conflict between Christians and Muslims then descended into some very, very, very grotesque bloodbath. I read a report, I think yesterday, about the briefing of the UN Security Council by the United Nations Assistant Secretary General for Genocide Prevention, Mr. Adama Dieng, a Senegalese diplomat that I know very well. And his report indicated that, in fact, some children were beheaded, and then some people were just simply killed needlessly. The estimate is that about 1,000 people have been killed, and then scores of people have been displaced. Some have fled the country. Okay. So even with the little that I know about the Central African Republic, whatever may have happened there, what it has degenerated into is deeply worrying. I mean, for a person like myself. Because, I mean, even though I would not characterize what is happening in Central Africa as a genocide, because a genocide is an organized and systematic, form of violence with intent to destroy a particular group of people. I have not seen evidence of any intent to completely wipe out a particular group or segment of the Central African Republic population from the face of the earth. However, one death is one too many for me as a student of genocide and human rights. And therefore, we are very much aware in our study of genocides that it is these intercommunal violence that create the context for genocide. And so I've been monitoring the situation very, very carefully to see the extent to which I can, in my own way, draw attention to it. In my classroom, write about it in order to register my strongest protest about the need for us to learn from what happened in Rwanda in 1994 so that we don't make such catastrophic transitions into violence anywhere on the African continent.